Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. If you've been following my videos just lately, what I've been doing is I've been showing you my past edits. Maybe there will be something new in there for you to learn, and maybe you'll have seen them already in other past videos. This particular one I'm going to be using hue and saturation, because if I take you and show you the original, there's a bit of a difference in the colours there. Now my camera was actually on auto white balance as it normally is, but for some reason I've got this, I mean it's quite a nice shade of pink, but I wanted it to be the correct colour as I saw it through the camera. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be editing this image, changing the background, changing the hue and saturation. Now first of all, we'll make a copy of the layer. So we're going to come down, bring this down to the plus in your layer box, and now we've got a copy. Now I also said that I was going to share with you the settings I used and the situation the image was taken in. So this particular image was shot at f11, half a second at ISO 200. Now I always have my camera on around ISO 200. It was shot in natural light. I didn't use any artificial light at all. It was also shot indoors, and I used a tripod to eliminate any shake. Now I must admit this was a stacked image of 8 shots, and the reason being was I was trying out a piece of software called Helicon. I can put a link down in the comments for you, and you can check Helicon out yourself. But I didn't actually need to use it. F11 would have been quite enough without stacking the image, because I find the higher the F number, the more I'm going to get in focus. The lower the F number, the less it's going to be in focus. So F11 would have been about right to get the whole of the image in focus. And obviously you've got different depths to the flowers, but from front to back I would have got good focus. Okay, so let's get started. We've already made a copy of the layer, as I said. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the image, look around the image and see what we can do to improve it before we start anything else. First thing I'm going to do is to crop these leaves out at the bottom. But first of all, I'm going to give the image a bit more space here. So we'll go to the crop tool, and I'm going to do what's called overcropping. So I'm going to bring the box out a little bit. I'm going to make sure I'm on content aware fill and press enter. That's increased this side, so we've got equal movement both sides. I think what we'll do is call this overcrop, and then I'm going to do a bit of cloning, so we'll call it clone as well. Clone leaves. And the reason I'm doing this is because if I don't want these alterations, because it's a separate layer, I can just deselect it. So let's do the cloning next. So we'll go to the clone tool. Don't have to be zooming particularly. Just going to quickly clone these leaves out. The next thing I'm going to do is check for any blemishes, any dirt spots, anything like that. So we'll zoom in. Let's just have a look and see if there's anything we need to correct. And it doesn't look like it. Can't see anything that's glaringly obvious. No, so we don't need to do any spot healing. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, so I think we'll attack the colour of the flowers. So again, I'm going to make another layer. We'll call this correct hue and saturation. Now we're going to go up to select subject. Now there's two ways you could do this. You could go and do it in Camera Raw, but for this exercise I'm just going to do it through Photoshop. Okay, so we've got the whole of the flower and the stems selected. So I don't really want to do the stems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to quick selection tool, and I'm going to say minus. I'm just going to go around, deselect petals, the stems. Now what you've got to be careful is, so the best thing now is to zoom in and make sure you've got all of the petals, because once you go and correct the hue and saturation, if you miss any of the edges, it's going to look a bit strange. Quick selection. Make sure you go on the plus this time, because you're going to get all of the petals right to the edge. It doesn't actually matter if you go over the black background a bit. So make sure bit there, because that really will show up very bright. Get the edges there, edges there. I think you've got the idea with this. And Photoshop's pretty accurate these days. If your computer's a bit slow, just wait for it to catch up. I think we've got it all there. The next thing we'll do is go up to layer, choose a new adjustment layer, hue and saturation, and I'm going to click use previous layer to create clipping mask, because it will only affect this next layer down, and then you can always deselect it if you don't like it. I'm going to take it about there. And I'm trying to get it as near to the actual what I saw through the camera. I think it's probably about there. So we've got minus 32 hue, minus 37, but obviously you're going to be trying it on your own image, so it will be different for you. But I think that's more or less. I go back to, yes, it's not that far out. So I think we'll leave it at that. Now what I've got is I've got two backgrounds or overlays, whatever you want to call them. First of all, I've got that one, and I've got this one. This is actually a blurred, a Gaussian blur of the original image, of the flowers in particular. Now what I could do is, I could do select subject. So let's go up to select subject. Now this is why sometimes I don't like select subject, because what you need to do is you need to go to quick selection tool, and you need to click the plus because it hasn't selected. Let's go, let's zoom in, because it hasn't selected all of the stem. Quick selection tool, and we'll say the plus, because you can see there it's not selected some of it, but you see what's happening is it's showing the black behind. And now look, I've clicked and I don't really want that. If I click this and then try and just select that stem, oh, it's so hit and miss. This is why I'm not really keen on select subject. I'm going to get rid of that. Select subject, let's go back. So the way I actually did this, zoom out, forget select subject, and this is the background I'm going to use. I'm going to use the move tool, So make sure you're on the background, use the move tool, hold your mouse button down, and bring it across to your main image and release the mouse button. Then you should be able to reposition it. Reposition it using your arrow keys. You can move it around, make it smaller, but you just want it to fit just over. And when you're happy with it, either click the tick at the top or just press your enter key. Then what I'm going to do what I normally do is I'm going to put a mask on. Take your opacity down on your blurred layer until you can see the image underneath. That is my preferred way of doing this because I don't find select subject unless there's a clear difference. The problem is I'll go back to the image, deselect the background. The problem is the stems are pretty dark. It's picking up the bright flowers, but it's not really picking up the stems very well. So let's go back to it. So I'm going to do my masking job on this one. And then what I'll do is I shall bring the other background in afterwards. So let's got the mask. We need the brush. Make sure it's on 100%. Got 100% flow. And we need to be on the black. And there you can see the image coming through. Now if you're not brave enough to do it at 100%, you can reduce the opacity. Let's just zoom in a bit. Smaller brush. It doesn't matter if you go over the edge. It's probably better if you do because you can get a sharper edge. Just take time. This is my preferred way. I'm being very quick here. What I'll probably do is do so much and then I'll stop the video, carry on. Then when we come back, show you the finished image. I think you've got the idea. See, then it means that I can mask in or out, depending on what I want. Yes, it takes time, but it's worth it in the end. And I'm being very quick with this, so I'm probably going over and showing quite a lot of the black. And what I'll do is, before I stop the video, show you what I do. So black reveals the image underneath. White is going to reveal the background, the blurred background. So I'm going to take the opacity up on the blurred background. So you'll actually see where I've gone over on the black. And now what I'm going to do is change to white. Now you can do it by pressing the arrow key here or X on your keyboard. If you can see, look, X on your keyboard changes it to black or white. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to quickly grab the brush. Let's zoom in a bit more. I'm just going to go around the edges. You don't have to be absolutely perfect. think you get the idea of that. White is bringing your background back through. Black is bringing your image through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video here and come back to you. Let's have a look how we're doing. I've really zoomed in here now. And let's just show you what I've done so far. I've done that flower, started to do the stems. So I've got to do this. This has probably took me about 15 minutes so far. I'm probably doing it quicker than I would normally do it. If you really want to see more detail, go in really close and you can probably see where I've missed. So just go in with your brush, make sure I'm on white, because you need to bring the background in, and just vary the size of your brush as well, depending on where you are on the image. I'm just going over little bits that I've missed here. This to me it's a work of art really, and this is what I'm doing. I'm sort of making, I suppose you could call it fine art pieces. They're not just photographs, there's a bit more artistic work going into it. I think probably you've probably got the idea of what I'm trying to show you. But just keep on varying the size of your brush, varying whether you're bringing the background in or the image in. So here it looks as though I need to bring the edges of the image in there. It is a bit fiddly, but you know, I love doing this. I think it's really satisfying. If you zoom out, you can see what you've missed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and Alt. Click with the mouse and Alt, and there you can see what I've missed. So what I can actually do now is to fill this in with black. So get the brush, big brush, and then fill it all in where you've missed. Around the edges, not too close because then you'll go over. As I say, this is, you know, it's a work of art to me. It's really therapeutic to spend time doing this. Zoom in as you would normally. See where you've missed. Brush again. And to increase or decrease the size of your brush, use your bracket keys. Okay, so big brush. Make sure you've got it all covered. Not perfect yet, but it's getting there. And it takes a bit of time. So let's click with the mouse and Alt on your keyboard to get you back to the image. It's the it's the bits that take the time to correct bits that you've missed, bits that you want to leave out. Let's put the opacity down so we can see. Brush, white. Maybe you won't want to see where you've missed. Maybe you won't want to use the black and white copy of the mask. It's not that important that you do. But I'm doing this very, very quickly. So I'm going to stop the video again, carry on. Let's just see what we've got to do. Yes, got to finish this flower, finish the stems. I'll come back to you when I've done a bit more. Okay, so I'm back and I've got quite a bit done here. And if we look at this stem down here, this just doesn't seem to add anything to the picture. So what I'm going to do is, the great thing about this masking is I can mask out what I don't want. So I'm going to get rid of this. Now you might leave things like this in, but this is the great thing about masking. You can take out the things that you don't want. I mean, I want to try and keep the flower images true to what it was, but sometimes there's some distracting bits that I prefer to take out. So I'll take this out. I'm rushing it a little bit. It's probably taken me about an hour now to get to this point. I really should time myself, but I get so carried away. Just forget I forget about the time. So it hasn't really taken too long, and it's a reasonably complicated image. So let's get rid of that. So I didn't really like that leaf very much. What we'll do is we'll go and check the mask now. So I'm going to click the Alt key, click your mouse button, and we're into the black and white mask. There's a little bit there that I need to touch up, so get the brush, get on the black, and just go around and touch these bits up. And then you'll know that you've got the whole of the image coming through the background. And it's just a little bit of guesswork doing this. Increase the size of your brush. I'm probably making it look very easy, but so we're nearly there, really. I thought, well, there's no point in keeping the video running. Just keep increasing, decreasing the size of your brush depending on what you're actually doing. It's on the stem. And where it's blurred, you can sharpen the edge. Because that's probably part of the image that you wanted anyway. But if it isn't, you could always look at it, say, oh no, I don't want that in, I'll take it back out when you go back to the normal view. The problem is, you see, when you're sort of doing something on a black background, the black shows through quite easy. Change to white and just get rid of that there. I quite like doing it this way. I can really see where I've missed. So let's zoom out again. That looks okay. So we're going to click the Alt key, click your mouse button, and I'll go back into the image. I think that looks pretty good now. As I say, that's probably taken about an hour to do that. I'll see if I can time myself next time and tell you exactly how long it took. What I'll also do now is change the hue and saturation on this blurred background. If you look at the original, the JPEG one, it's slightly different, so it doesn't quite match the flower. So what I'm going to do is do another adjustment layer, but on the blurred background this time. Go into hue and saturation, Make sure you're only affecting that blurred layer. Then I'm going to bring the hue down, the saturation of it. Can you see how it's changing? It's more in keeping with the flower. I think we'll leave it at that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the other background in. Now the reason for me doing it separately like this is because you've got it on separate layers. What I'll do is I'll show you. So let's zoom out a bit. Here's the other background. Get your move tool and do the same. Hold your mouse button down. Bring it over to the image. Down and release the mouse button. Move it around and resize it. Click the tick or press enter to say yes to that. Crop it to make sure you've got no excess round and press enter or click the tick. Now let's put the opacity down on this one. Quite a bit. So don't want to have too much of that detail in. I might also do hue and saturation on that. Let's just have a look. Let's put another layer on. Another adjustment layer. Depends how you want the background to look. Do you want it to more or less match the flower? So let's take it down a bit. Take the hue down. Saturation. What I'll do is now I'll bring the opacity of that layer back a bit so we can see more of the detail. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring the flower through this second background. And as I was saying, the reason for me doing it this way is if I don't like that layer, I can get rid of it. So I can click it, take it to the bin, and then put another overlay on. But keep the original one. So if I took that off, I'd still have that layer. And I can swap that one for another one. So let's put a mask on this one now. You don't need to be too fussy with this top layer. So get on our black. And we don't need to worry about the black background because that's already taken off the other layer. But just gone over there, so start again. Make your brush a bit smaller. What I'm going to do is just go 50% on the stems. This is entirely up to you, depending on your image, as to what you want to do. But because you've already got rid of the black background from the previous, from the original image, you don't have to be as particular. I'm now going to go over the image with about 25% opacity. And I'm going to bring this, just soften the image a bit. You can do it as many times as you want. I'll just go around the edges, just so it blends in a bit. Now, I don't think we've exactly got the same colour background as that, but you can play around with it. I can put more saturation into that. Probably needs the bottom one adjusting. A bit more saturation into it. I think you've got the general gist of that. What I'll probably do is blur the stem at the bottom, so I'm going to go on to blur background and blur the stem out at the bottom. I'll just keep on clicking until you've got it to how you like it. And that's it. It's probably taken about an hour to get to that point. Okay, I'd like to thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.